Welcome back to the SwimSwam Breakdown. As always, I'm your host, Coleman Hodges, coming to you from Austin, Texas, joined by Yin Lee from Madison, New Jersey. We've had a slew of big swim meets. Oh, first of all, Yin, how was your first college finals week?
They were something. Not a traditional finals week because all of my classes had final papers and I was at home because I went home after Thanksgiving. I don't have to be back until New Year's because all my finals are online. So it was just a lot of me in my room or my town library, just at a computer typing. And I think my brain has just become word vomit. But I'm very glad it's over. It just made me so mentally tired, all the writing. It was not fun.
I mean, honestly, aside from not taking a ton of tests, that sounds like a pretty typical college finals week. Just a lot of time in your room or at the local library disintegrating your brain.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure I got cramps after taking the finals. Like, I didn't
brain
do
cramps.
anything. No, like physical cramps, not brain cramps. It's actually so, not fun.
Well, congrats on making it through. Congrats on finishing your first semester of college. Now let's test your brain in the swimming realm.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Right. I forgot they're on quarters. I actually just at US Open, I saw Rachel Stratton Mills, and she informed me that Northwestern was on quarters, and I had since forgotten. So thanks for the double reminder. All right. Let's get down to the real finals week, which was I think this past week of swimming. We had quite a few meets to end the year on. We're talking about US Open, both Winter Juniors meets, and short course European Championships today. I'm going to start in Bucharest, Romania for our international listeners with short course Euros. We saw a world record from Dan Wiffen. He absolutely crushed the oldest world record in the books, which was held by Grant Hackett in the short course meter 800 freestyle. He cut 3 seconds off of that, brought it down to 720. Ben Proud almost dipped under Caleb Dressel's 50-meter freestyle world record as well. We saw many other sensational swims. Yin, what stood out to you the most from Romania?
I think it speaks to me how much stronger the European men are than the European women, because almost all of the strong headline deserving swims came from the men. At least those were the swims that I heard about the most, because Daniel Wiffen, Ben Proud, Noe Ponti had a few good swims, but on the women's side I didn't really see that much, especially since arguably the top European female swimmer, Sarah Sjöström, wasn't there. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I almost forgot that Noe Ponti became one of very few people to sweep. Well, sorry, this was at a European Championships, not a World Championships. But again, sweeping a 50, 100, 200 of any stroke at a major meet is a very notable accomplishment, I think, especially when in the 50 you're taking down the world record holder and coming within 4 100ths of said world record. Yeah, I feel like he had a really good swim. I thought the Brits looked great. It was great to see James Guy go to a new training center, new coach. He's training with Matt Richards now. He's just a few months into that cycle, and already we're seeing kind of that payoff. He went a best time in the 200 freestyle. That was his first podium at a major meet in the 200 freestyle, I think he said in 7 years.
Yeah.
Which was awesome to see. And him and Matt won. James Guy got second by just a few 100ths. Surprising that David Popovich was off that podium. He got a narrow fourth, but then he bounced back to get a bronze in the 100 free, which the hometown crowd loved.
By 2 100ths too.
Yeah, that 100 free, I did catch that race, and it was a marquee race, very exciting to watch. I feel like some people were saying, "Is this it for David Popovich? Did he fly too close to the sun, and now his career's over, or not over, but trending downwards?" Especially swimming in front of a home crowd and taking home a bronze medal in, I think he swam 3 individuals. What do you make of David Popovich right now and where he's at in his career?
I don't know. I mean, it was good to see him on the podium in his short course, which isn't his strong suit. I feel like with a lot of these swimmers from smaller countries who we don't really get as much coverage on because they're not at these big trials meets, we don't really know where they're at until the big world championships, Olympic meet happens in the summer. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make from a fall winter short course meet, but it's really nice to see the love that he gets in his home country because swimmers aren't typically the superstars in their country, but he is in Romania, so that was cool to see. And
he had his banner on he had his face on a banner on the side of a building, which is pretty awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just wanted to go back and add, I really liked seeing Casper Corbeau take home the gold in 200 breast because it seemed like for the past few years he's been at international meets, but it's always felt like he's just been there. He's not really doing anything. He's just swimming, making semifinals, maybe finals, but now he seems like a legitimate podium threat, maybe even overtaking Arno Kuminga as the top, at least 200 breaststroker in the Netherlands. He went 207 in long course, so it's really nice to see him have that progression after leaving Texas.
Agreed. We saw him go to Texas and kind of ascend as this very good NCAA breaststroker, and then now we've seen him make this move to the Netherlands, and kind of his trajectory has gone upwards in terms of being a really great Dutch and international breaststroker, which is exciting for him. He's made his, I think, second Olympic team. He's qualified for Paris. He just won his first European title in that 200 breaststroke. So yeah, it's interesting to see the Dutch breaststrokers narrative play out, because I feel like Arno was sick for the 2022 World Champs, and we haven't necessarily seen him bounce back to kind of the form we saw him in a few years ago, where he was just racing all the time and winning all the time. At this meet, I think he medaled, but he wasn't necessarily winning or going best times. And obviously in an Olympic year, a short course European meet might not be the focus or a meet you're even resting for that much. But I think even at long course meets that they've been competing at, Casper's been able to, touch Arno out once or twice. And so it'll be interesting to see as we get closer to the Olympics, how they sharpen their knives and how we see those races play out. Because like you said, Casper might be in a place where he can ascend to being the top breaststroker from the Netherlands.
I think there's a lot of mixed medley relay implications there, because right now I still think Arno is better in the 100 breast, but whoever gets that breaststroke spot on the Dutch mixed medley relay might be contending for relay medal, because that's the relay that they have the best shot at medaling in. So that's another conversation to have.
One of my favorite parts of this short course European Championships was the relay selection that they went with, because I don't think there were any 4x2 relays, but there were mixed 4x50 relays, and there were 4x50 relays. I think there was a 4x100 relay somewhere, but I could be wrong on that. Actually, I'm looking at it now, and I think it might just be 50 relays. So I love that. They're just doing short relays at this meet. It's all about, it's short course. We're going short. I very much appreciate that.
It's a great day for the distance haters.
Seriously. So yeah, a lot of good things at that meet. Like you said, I think the women's side was not as many highlights, but again, the best European female athlete, Sarah Sjostrom, opted out of this meet. And so I think that was a little disappointing because it's always great when she's in the pool, but as a result, a bit of, not as much premier swimming on the women's side.
It's so funny because Michelle Coleman, the winner of the 50 free, she won in 23.5. That's literally like a 10th off of what Sarah Sjostrom went in long course this summer. Just goes to show how dominant Sarah Sjostrom is right now.
No kidding. But also kudos to Michelle Coleman, who I think this summer she made her first international final, and then this was her first European, major international title ever at 29 years old. So she's hanging in there, and she's doing some of her best swimming of her career right now, which is a very cool storyline and great to see.
Oh, of course.
All right. That about does it for short course Euros, I think. Again, if you want to do a deep dive into everything that happened, all the narratives, head to SwimSwam. We have all the results, all the reporting. Let's go stateside to the Winter Junior Championships. We had East, we had West. I loved that they were technically East and West, but they were really not very far apart. The East happened in Columbus, Ohio, and the West was in Westmont, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. All right, right off the bat, Yin, better meet, East or West?
Oh, East for sure. East is just considerably deeper. The West, their top swimmers, like Maximus, Williamson, Tegan Odell, might contend with swimmers in the East, but just overall, the East was a much, much deeper field. And I'm just using the boys 500 free as an example. I think almost everyone in the final broke. 7 swimmers in the final broke 420, which for a high school meet, that is pretty crazy. Whereas on the West side, it was just Cooper Lucas who won, but the rest of the field was pretty meh. So that's just one example. Overall, I just
only going 422 in high school. Boo.
No. It was the West was 416, 419, 419, 419, 423, 423, 425, 432. But then the East was, hold on, I'm pulling up the results right now. The East was 414, 415, 417, 418, 419, 419, 419, 424. And the guy who went 424, Nathan Sabota, his best times of 419. So.
Which he went in the morning, right? Or he went close to it in the morning?
Yeah, he went 419 in the morning. Just didn't have a great final, so yeah.
Yeah. So eight boys that all went under 420 that day.
Yeah, and that's just one example. I just felt like the East overall just had more standout swims.
No, absolutely. As I was checking into results every night, like I would do a more thorough investigation of the East, and then I would briefly check in with the West, be like, what did Maximus swim? Maybe like what did Tegan go? But yeah, other than that, it was kind of like, okay, yeah. The East was a much deeper meet, which it's kind of funny how it changes every year. I think last year overall the West was a much deeper meet, due in large part because we had the Sandpipers there. Bella, Katie, Claire, and so that, it was a huge momentum shift from last year to this year. But obviously there were a lot of sensational swims. Yin, tell me what swim stood out to you, and then I'm going to come in with a few swims that might have gone under the radar, but were still kind of mind-blowing.
That's funny because I personally was paying more attention to those swims that maybe didn't get as much attention, but
Lay
have
'em on me.
large implications for maybe recruiting rankings. Just because I did a lot
Mhm,
of that this
mhm.
summer. Obviously, you've got the Thomas Heilmans and the Maximus Williamsons and the Alex Shackles and the Tegan Odells and the Charlotte Crushes of the world, but a lot of the swims that stood out to me and a lot of the swimmers that stood out to me were swimmers that are really fast, but maybe not making headlines. One of them was Luca Battaglini's 50 free. He went 1906, which is crazy. His underwaters are Hoffer-esque. He
Mhm.
almost became the third swimmer to break 19 in the 50 free. I thought that was a pretty impressive swim. A little bit overshadowed by Heilman's nag, but just overall very good. There are some other swimmers in general that I think had phenomenal meets. Greg Enoch of Carmel was one of them. He went 414 in the 500 free. And he set a bunch of other big personal bests. I think his recruiting ranking stock is going to go up a lot
Mhm.
after this meet.
And he's
He went
committed to
one
Louisville, right?
Louisville. Yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of Louisville, two of their commits, one was Caroline Larson, who
Mm.
is coming to Louisville next fall. She went 21.9 in the 50 free, and then Julie Mishler, who's a 2025 commit, she went 21.8. So the fact that the Louisville women have two 21.50 freestyles coming in is really good for their program. And I think Louisville's a program that's known for developing a lot of their swimmers rather than just getting great recruits off the bat. So the fact that they're getting two really good recruits on the women's side alongside their reputation for developing, I think that's a really lethal combination.
And their sprinters, the situation they have in their sprint crew right now is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah,
Like they are
awesome.
so deep and so young in their sprint core right now. I think it's like their best four sprinters are maybe a senior, a junior, and two sophomores, something like that. So that's good news for them.
Yeah, and Jillian Crooks, another female sprinter, she was phenomenal. 47.3 in the 100 free, crazy fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
her and Camille Spink are gonna be a lethal duo in college.
yeah. So yeah, once again, Jillian Crooks joining her brother at Tennessee next year.
Yeah, next year.
Okay, so she'll arrive in the fall of 24. But yeah, she's continuing to develop. Training at the TAC Titans, is that
Yeah,
correct?
with the Tech Titans.
Okay, so
Yeah,
with that, very, very established program that I mean, I think they're more known for their shorter events, right? For
yeah.
developing sprinters like Claire Curzan. I mean, Charlotte Hook also came from that program. Great middle distance swimmer. David Curtis is training there now. So,
Mhm.
well, you went way deeper than I was going to, but I did. You said the Charlotte Crushes of the world, and I know she set the nag 49.5 in the 100 back as a 15-year-old. Some of our commenters were saying she might have gone a little far on her first underwater, might have gone past 15. Honestly, the quality of the video was not good. B, it's at an angle, it's hard to tell. There was no call, and so I'm guessing it will be ratified as a national age group record. It's a phenomenal swim no matter what. I mean, even if she did go past 15, maybe take a couple tenths off of it,
Yeah.
49.7. But it was a sensational swim. The swim I thought didn't get talked about enough was her leading off the medley relay, the 200 medley relay in 23.2, which on the first night of the meet. And like that was the swim that stood out to me more than any other swim besides maybe like Heilman and Maximus's 200 freestyles. But like from the medley relay, I was like, are you kidding me? Like 23.2. I know Alex Shackle went the fastest 50 fly split of all time, but we already
It
knew she
was
was
the
like,
third fastest.
really?
Gretchen Walsh and Maggie McNeil have both been 21. No, Gretchen Walsh went 21.91 and then Maggie McNeil went 21.8. I don't know. I said to fix the headline for that.
Okay.
But I don't know if we did or not.
Well, we falsely reported something. That's the first time that's ever happened in SwimSwam history. But Charlotte, yeah, I did not expect Charlotte Crush going 23-2. To put that into context, there were two women who were faster than that at the 2023 NCAAs. That's Gretchen Walsh and Catherine Burkhoff. And then Claire Curzan also went 23-2, leading off Stanford's medley relay. So, she would be faster than any other woman in the country, aside from those three who are all NCAA champions. And she's 15.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I actually have a question about that. I don't know if you'd be able to answer better than me since you're more involved in the realm of competitive swimming than I am. But there's a trend, especially in yards, of just kids swimming mind-blowingly fast and just being competitive with some of the top swimmers in the NCAA. Is this a trend where swimming, period, is getting faster, or are we seeing a trend where swimmers are really going all out in high school, but maybe burning out a little bit in college? Like, where is this going to lead to? Especially with the female swimmers.
Man, that's a great question. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately in the framing of how do media and audiences view a sensational swim? Like what qualifies as that? Because kids like Maximus and Thomas, who are going times that would qualify for A finals at NC2As as 16 and 17-year-olds, as juniors in high school, it's like, that's really, really crazy. But then we look at the women's side, and we have women who are going times that would challenge to win NC2As. But that's a little more common because women, typically peak earlier in age. It's like we've seen that a lot more in terms of, look at the Sandpipers, look at Missy Franklin, look at Reagan Smith. You can go back and you see a lot of females who swim their best in high school or early college, whereas I think men have a little longer of a runway typically to develop and peak. So it's interesting. Like, I think we've always seen fast high schoolers compared to what is happening in the NCAA on some level. I think it's less common on the men's side, again, because they get to college, they develop a lot physically, and then they start going faster times. You have someone like Phelps who was fast super young, but that's less common. But what we are seeing is the sport as a whole getting faster, right? So college swimming is getting exponentially faster. It's getting so deep. I feel like every year you have a few more events that just gain a ton of depth, right? Like, for example, the women's 500 free last year, not that great, right? The NCAA final 436 was the winning time. This year, we already have multiple women, I think 4 or 5 women who have been faster than that. And so it's like, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And I think we're starting to see that trickle down to high school.
Are you sure that's trickling down to high school, or are the high schoolers coming to the NCAA and making the 500 faster? Because when you compare the 500 free right now in the NCAA to how fast it has been historically, it's still not very fast. It's more like last year's 500 free was so slow, and we're getting faster in it.
I would tend to say, I don't have the answer objectively. I would tend to think it comes from the top end and then it trickles down. I don't think you see like high schoolers going fast and that's going to make college swimmers faster, or you see high schoolers going fast and then they come to the NCAA and that's what makes the NCAA faster necessarily. I would tend to say that college swimming gets faster. High schoolers see that. It's like, I don't think Maximus and Thomas go 131 and 132 if they haven't seen multiple guys go 129 before. Right?
I mean, I don't think there's a direct correlation, but it definitely it's like a more of a general trend. And I want to go back to your point about how guys tend to really develop more in college and see a lot of their improvement there. And yes, I think there's a lot of biological merit behind that argument, but same with girls. It's like some of them might peak earlier than usual, and not everyone's gonna keep improving all the time. And I think we saw that this year with Thomas Heilman. He sort of he still went best times in most of his events, and he still swam really fast, but he didn't see the major drops that he saw last year. And I think that's just going to happen. We can't just expect them to keep on improving just because they're young boys. And we've seen this a lot in the past as well with Ryan Hoffer, who was very, very fast in high school, but he didn't really see major drops until he was a senior in college. So that kind of stuff happens. So I think when we look at swimmers like Thomas Heilman and Maximus Williamson, it's important to keep that in mind. Just because they're young swimmers and they're male doesn't mean they're gonna have the same drops that most male swimmers have in college, because that's just not how it works all the time.
100% agree. Coming into this meet, in my head, I was going to be very, very surprised if Thomas had big drops in his three major events, 2IM, Hunter Fly, and Tuner Fly, which he dropped in two of them, which I think he dropped in the 2IM. He did drop in the 2 Fly as well. And then he was, added a couple tenths in the Hunter Fly, I think. But like, his times last year were so fast that like he is without a doubt a better athlete last year than he was this year. But that doesn't always translate to crushing your best times from last year, right?
You mean a better athlete this year than last year?
Yeah, sorry. He's a better athlete than he was a year ago, without a doubt. And we saw him drop in other events, right? 100 free, 200 free. But yeah, coming in, I was like, I don't think he's going to have huge drops because those times are already just so elite. And like you said, Ryan Hoffer was a great example. Went 41.2 as a junior in high school, did not go a best time for 6 years in that event, because it's like, well, there's already so little room for growth. And that's not to say he wasn't getting better every year after that, but sometimes it just takes a while. And I also think there's two factors that are expanding athletes' runways, men and women, both ways. The first one is that pro careers last a lot longer now, right? Mm-hmm. And I think just technology in life has made it so that we know how to take care of our bodies as athletes. Sorry, I'm not an athlete, but athletes know how to take better care of their bodies now. There's more money in the sport, or there's more ways to kind of stay with a professional career if that's what you want to do and you're at that level. Because, most of the time we would see people swim through college, retire at 22. We still see that, but we see a lot more pros being able to extend their career. And in that way, they can make improvements, So to your point, we do see a lot of women who are getting better through high school, but then getting better through college and even getting better through their pro careers as well. Because I think the lifespan of a swimmer is longer. And so we're seeing more possibilities to get better, not only as swimmers, but as athletes. The second thing is that recruiting has gone backwards, right? You are expected to be very, very fast as a sophomore in high school now, so that by the time you are starting your junior year in high school, you are getting recruited based off your sophomore times. So I think especially for the boys side, that has kind of made them be faster younger. Right?
Well, is that going to make them faster younger, or are our standards for being fast going to change because they're younger?
I mean, I think both. Like, I think we've seen the depth and the top end speed of 15 to 18 boys swimming certainly just grow exponentially over the last 5 years. I mean, look how many nags we're seeing broken by kids like Kai Winkler, Thomas Heilman, Maximus Williamson, but then also look at the top 8 from a East and West juniors. Like, it is faster than we've ever seen it, and I think that's because there is a higher sense of urgency to be fast at age 15 and 16 than there was 5 or 10 years ago.
That's a good point to make. I didn't really think of, I mean, with recruiting getting pushed, I think with recruiting getting pushed back, it definitely has different implications for different people, because before the new recruiting rules, we were seeing people committing as early as their freshman year or even 8th grade, but then you're also, it's different for different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was a long-winded conversation. That was super fun. Hope our listeners enjoyed this tangent, and please feel free to leave your opinions and comments about age group swimming below. But there's winter juniors in a nutshell. Some really great swimming. High schoolers are fast. I think that's the biggest takeaway there.
Like, if you gave me another 30 minutes to talk about all the other swims that impressed me, I would take it. But we unfortunately don't have the time for that.
Yeah. So there's winter juniors. Again, let us know what you think about high school swimming. But we're going to move on to U.S. Open, which was 2 weeks ago, but we didn't get a breakdown last week. So we're going to recap it real quick. There were a lot of really interesting storylines that came about in Greensboro. Yin Yin, I'll let you start. Give me your top 1 to 3 storylines that you really enjoyed from the U.S. Open in Greensboro, which was long course, by the way.
I mean, I think this was a fan favorite storyline for most people, but I loved what I saw from both Caleb Dressel and Simone Manuel. But both of them sort of on similar trajectories. They're not swimming times that necessarily make them locks for the Olympic team, but they're swimming better than they have since before they went on their respective hiatuses, which really, really good for them. I really, really like where both of them are headed. And honestly, next year, even if they aren't at their peak or where they were when they were swimming their fastest, but even if just both of them make the Olympic team, I will be happy. And I think both of them are on a trajectory to do that. So that was my favorite storyline. What about you, Coleman?
I mean, yeah, just absolutely the leadership that both of them bring. I think the presence that both of them have, like, is just irreplaceable. And I think as fans, we want to see both of them succeed because they are both so great. So loved seeing their results. I think the storyline of the meet was Shane Casas.
I saw this.
Just, he missed 3 A finals. I think he was 9th at least twice out of prelims. And then he came back with monster swims in the evening. He was 156.0 in the 200 IM. He was 51.0 in the 100 fly. And then his 100 free was not as stellar as those other swims. I think he was 48.8 or 9. Okay. But he had swims that I think put him on top of the world rankings, or certainly on top of the US rankings in the 2 IM and the 100 fly after missing A finals in both. So, he is swimming well, but it's kind of a question of leading into the Olympic trials. Can he put those kinds of swims together at trials? Because I think if he goes those times in the trials finals, I think that puts you on the team in both of those events. Which is crazy that he's swimming times that would make an Olympic team right now.
Yeah. One of our writers, Riley Overend, he did a story on Shane Costas breaking the U.S. Open in the 200 IM, and he wrote, "The human roller coaster that is Shane Costas continued its riveting ride on Thursday night." That was so funny. A+ journalism.
I think I saw that headline and I was like, I feel like that's a little harsh, but you know what? I can't deny the metaphor.
Yeah. I think my serious take on Shane Costas is I kind of want to see where his headspace is at, because we haven't really heard from him since 2020, early 2022, when he first made that move to Texas. I think a lot of people can agree. I obviously don't know him. I don't know what his exact situation is, but a lot of people seem to think that his sort of not being able to swim fast at the right moment problem is a mental thing. So I'd be curious to see what kind of headspace he is in. We weren't able to interview him at nationals because he wasn't available. I think that would have provided some good insight, but just I would just like to hear from him about his take on his swimming and where he's at, because he definitely is a human roller coaster, and I don't really know what to expect from him. So there's that. If Coleman, if you could get him on the podcast, that would be great. I don't know if we can, but it's worth a try.
Yeah, so it looks like we talked to him when his 90s Sporty Swim collection came out 5 or 6 months ago, which was like in the lead up to the 2023 World Champ Trials.
Yeah, but that was more of a marketing thing.
That was fair, but I think we talked to him also about, kind of his event trial lineup and kind of what he thought about it. But anyway, I'm agreeing with you that we didn't get to talk to him at trials, in part because at a trials meet, you usually talk to the people who make the team. He did not make the team until the last day. And at that point, things are so hectic in the mixed zone and everywhere because people are getting their letters that they made the team, and it's a mess, honestly. But so we didn't get to talk to Shane. But yeah, again, it'll be interesting to see what he's going to focus on. I think if he goes into Olympic trials focusing on those 3 events, 100 free, 100 fly, 2 IM, I think that's a great event load. And I think that gives him great chances to make the team. It seems like the 200 back, he also has a great shot, but if he doesn't want to focus on that, I certainly wouldn't fault him for that. I think those 3 events, he's proved he's phenomenal in, and hopefully he can put it together when it counts at trials in them. So moving on to other storylines, we saw on the women's side, Kate Douglas, Summer McIntosh, and Tori Husk all have phenomenal meets. They look great heading into this long course season. Tori Husk went 2 best times and then dominated the 100 fly. Kate Douglas did her thing in the 200 IM, in the 200 breast, and swam the 100 breast. Oh, she won the 50 free too. And then swam the 100 breast, which was interesting. She told me that her event schedule for trials was going to be pretty much the same as it was at US Open. I don't see her swimming the 100 breast at trials.
No.
Yin Yin immediately downs that, sinks it. But I think we'll see her swim 5 events at trials.
5 events, so 50 free, 100 free, 100 fly, 200 IM, 200 breast. Yeah, makes sense.
I don't know what the conflicts are there. She's obviously proved that she can do doubles just fine, but I guess we'll see how, it's a 9-day meet. So long. I know the women's 50 free is the last day of the meet, so I don't think there's a conflict there for her, but we'll see how that plays out. I think that's a great segue into sink or swim. First up today on sink or swim, we're setting the line over under. This isn't necessarily sink or swim. Over under. Kate Douglas makes the 2024 U.S. Olympic team in 2.5 events. Over or under, Yin?
I'm going to go over. She made the team in 3 events last year and could potentially make the team in more this year.
Well, hold on. Yeah. Oh, you mean the world's team?
Yeah, I mean this year. Last
right.
season.
Yeah.
The 100 free, 200 breast, 200 IM. And I think she has a chance at making more than 3 at the Olympics. I hope she focuses on 3 events. Nothing more than that, because she's sort of at this point in her career where she's really, really good at a lot of events, but only elite in a select few. And I'd rather have her polish those select few elite events rather than trying to do a wide variety of things, because her best shot at Olympic gold is in the 200 IM, and I want to see her focus on that. I want to see her put together a phenomenal swim for that, rather than doing a bunch of events but not really excelling at any of them.
You heard it here for the first time ever. Yin wants Kate Douglas to swim the 200 IM. Well, she has never said that before on SwimSwam.
Never ever.
I'll go over as well. I think, Olympic trials is its own separate beast. You have prelims, semis, and finals, obviously. Last Olympic trials, Kate Douglas made the team in one event where she medaled. I think she's obviously evolved as an athlete since then, but she kind of had some heartbreaks, I think, in the 100 fly and the 50 free. I don't remember what else she swam. I know she got 3rd or 4th in the 100 fly by a very slim margin, but I think she'll make at least 3 events. I do feel like the 100 fly is one that she might want to drop depending on scheduling. Because I think 50 free, 100 free, 2 breast, 2 IM are all really good events for her, and events that she can definitely, hopefully, spread out with the schedule and also have great shots in medaling in. She has a great shot medaling in the 100 fly too, but I think that field is just a little more packed than the rest of them for her.
Yeah. And I just don't think the Olympic year is a good year to take up a new event and swim it at an international meet for the first time. Like, she's good at it, but really swimming it on a big stage is a whole different beast. So I just don't see the point in doing that in an Olympic year.
Yeah. So we're in agreement. She's going to make the team in at least 3 events. Boom. Way to go, Kate Douglas. Fingers crossed for you. Next up on Sink or Swim, Maximus Williamson or Thomas Heilman. At this point, after the Winter Junior Championships, who is the better recruit going into, well, they're still in their junior year, but who's the number 1 recruit right now? Is it Heilman or is it Williamson?
I think this is difficult because Heilman is currently a much better swimmer on the world stage because he's a legitimate medal threat in the 200 fly, and Maximus Williamson isn't there yet. But in terms of bathtub pool swimming, I think
which is what we care about.
Williamson has the slight upper hand because when you look at the sprints, Heilman is better in the 50, but Williamson's better in the 100 and 200. Williamson is better in the 200 IM. He has a 339 400 IM on top of that. Is pretty good at backstroke as well. And decent at fly. Whereas Heilman, I think his talent is in the fly, but is in butterfly, but in most other events, he's not as good as Williamson. And so Williamson's just overall a much versatile swimmer who can be utilized in different ways, whereas Heilman is versatile, but most of his strength is being put in one basket. But I think this is something that's going to fluctuate, and they're going to go back and forth until college. So I'm saying this right now, but this could change in a few months. But one thing we're not going to do is make them joint number one recruits, because that is boring. A lot of commenters want us to do that, but that is boring. We're not doing that.
You said that is
unless Braden says otherwise, but I don't like that idea.
You said that is buh, and I thought you were going to say a different B word. I was going to be like, yin yin. I agree with you, but dang. But it's also boring. I agree. You can't joint number one's not a thing. I'm sorry to say that you're wrong, yin yin. This is not the case, and I'll lay it out. Thomas Heilman is still the number one recruit, because if I was a college coach right now, Thomas Heilman can make 3A finals, and I can insert him onto 4 relays that will be top 8. Right? He can swim 800 free relay, 200 medley, 400 medley, 400 free. He's 42.0. Like, it's pretty good. From a swing, let's say he's 41, 7, 41.8. Like, I think that makes a top 8 relay pretty easily. Maximus Williamson, 3A finals, but not in the NCAA schedule, right? He can swim 2 IM, 2 free, or 400 IM. Doesn't have a day 4 event that he can A final in yet.
That's a good point.
And I can put him on 2 or 3 relays, but I can't put him on medley relays yet. He's 21.9 in the 50 back. He's 47, I think, in the 100 back. So, yeah, from an NCAA perspective, Thomas Heilman still has that upper hand, and Maximus gave himself huge points this weekend, but so did Heilman, going 42.0 and 132.0. And then the 50 free helps too.
I also think, Williamson's pretty close to scoring in the 100 free. He's 41.9.
He's close to scoring, but he's not making an A final, right? And Heilman has 3 solid A final swims.
That's a good point.
In the event lineup. So
that's a good point. I think I may have just said Williamson to be contrarian, but now I'm realizing the NCAA lineup doesn't really work in his favor.
The 131.3 was a crazy swim, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh my God. But when you look at it, Heilman is still, to me, the clear number one in terms of NCAA recruiting.
Yeah, if the 200 free and the 400 IM weren't on the same day, then maybe this would be a different story. But anyways.
Agreed. And last up, this is our only true sinker swim on sinker swim. But Daniel Wiffen breaks a world record in the 800 short course meter freestyle. He's continuing to ascend in the distance swimming history books. Will he win gold in Paris? I'm
gonna say he's not a very consistent swimmer. What do you mean? What's that reaction for?
I don't know. I'm just being shocked.
Or am I not wrong?
I'm just reacting.
Because at Worlds, I remember he was great in the 800, set a best time, couldn't medal in a really deep field, was off in the 1500, and then at the U23 champs, he was great in the 1500, but then was not very great in the 800, and he was pretty light.
The 800 at U23, or did he get beat? He got beat in the 4. But he won in the 8, right?
He won in the 1500. I just remember people were talking about how he was inconsistent at that meet. Yeah, he was second and added 6 seconds from Worlds.
In the 8 or the 4? In the 8?
In the 800. In the 8.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was pretty lights out at Euro short course, but you can't really compare short course to long course. And also, I feel like that is a lower stakes meet than Worlds. So I want to see him more consistent. And I just think there are swimmers right now that have gotten it done on the bigger stage and are faster than he is right now, like Bobby Fink and Ahmed Hafnaoui. So I'm gonna sink it. And it's just a very competitive field. So even if he does go best time, there's still a chance that he ends up off the podium. So you're gonna swim it, aren't you? You're gonna swim it.
I was gonna swim it like hands down, and then I was like, wait, it's not medaling, it's winning. You know, it's weird. So he had a lights out short course meet, right? And we know he can do it long course. What I found really interesting was that he won the 400 free. It was a relatively weak field time wise, but he made a statement and won the 400 free on day one at this meet. So I'm interested to see if he swims the 400 free in Paris, and if so, how he does in it. But then he has 2 more shots to get a gold or a medal in the 8 and the 15. And I think he does one of those. I think the men's. So yes, I'm swimming it. I think men's distance is in such a fun and historically great place right now. I don't know if there's ever been this much depth in men's distance swimming ever. Maybe men or women. Like, you have 5 or 6 guys who could very legitimately win in the 8 and the mile, right? And we don't have a clear favorite at this point because so many of them have gone such elite times. And in the mile, it's like, you don't know if 2 guys are going to go way out ahead of the field like we saw at this Worlds. We don't know if, one guy is going to get out ahead of the field and keep it like we saw at last Worlds, or we don't know if they're all going to be in a pack till the last 50, like at Olympics, when Fink won. And so I think Dan Wiffen has a couple things to his advantage. He's the youngest, and he is the most inexperienced, but every ounce of experience he's getting, I think, is building. It's building his confidence. It's building his mental strength. It's building how he can walk into a meet and say, this is how I want to perform, and now I'm going to go do that. He did Wiffen at the last World Championships. He swam times in season that were better than what he did there. But I think he's going to learn from that. And I think also because he's the youngest, I think that bodes better for his trajectory than some of the other guys. I guess maybe he's not younger than Ahmed Hafnaoui, but at this point, I'm a little worried about Hafnaoui just because his training situation.
Yeah.
We don't exactly know
what's going on.
Yeah, he's training in SoCal. He had a ton of success training in Indiana, but that's kind of an X factor, so we don't exactly know what's going on with him.
Yeah. And even if he doesn't win gold at the Olympics this summer, I don't think this takes away from what his swims at this meet, because getting rid of the oldest world record in the books and breaking it by 3 seconds, that is so impressive. And I don't think his swim got enough attention this weekend. So Daniel, don't come after me. That's just what I think, but I still think your achievements are great. And I'd be happy if he proved me wrong.
Agreed. I mean, yeah. If he doesn't win in Paris, it's not a failure by any means. That, again, oldest world record in the book. But I do think that will affect him in a positive way, right? That'll give him a lot of confidence, and moving forward, I think might set him apart from the pack. But anyway, thank you for tuning into this week's SwimSwam Breakdown. I think we might take a little hiatus for the holidays, call it a year. Thank you so much for listening to the SwimSwam Breakdown all year, and we will see you in the Olympic year of 2024.